You're sitting on the couch, and she's right there, close enough to touch. But something in the room has gone quiet, in a way that has nothing to do with silence. The TV is on, but nobody's really watching it. Her phone is face down on her knee. You just asked if everything's okay, and she said, "I'm fine," in that voice, the one that means the opposite. 2 days ago things were good, really good. You laughed until your stomach hurt. She reached for your hand at a red light for no reason at all. And now, she's a foot further away on the same couch you've sat on 100 times. Why does this keep happening? Why does it always happen right when things get good? Is she losing interest? Did I do something? Or is this just what happens to every relationship eventually? Wait. Here's the part almost nobody says out loud. She's not pulling away because things got bad. She's pulling away because things got good enough to feel something in it again. And that's terrifying for a nervous system that isn't used to trusting good things to stay. You're not failing at love. This isn't a sign you chose the wrong person. Every couple that has ever loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing right now, wondering what just shifted in the room. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which one of these 7 patterns is happening in your relationship right now, and more importantly, why you couldn't see it while it was happening. Let's get into it. Most couples believe that pulling away means falling out of love, but the real truth is something much quieter and much more human. Closeness activates something in the body before the mind even catches up. Her nervous system is reading the moment as, "This matters now." And anything that matters that much also carries the risk of loss. When safety leaves a relationship, even for a second, the love doesn't disappear. It goes underground. It hides in the same body that was just laughing with you 5 minutes ago. What looks like distance is often someone protecting the exact thing they're afraid of losing. This is the anxious avoidant dance most people have never had explained to them properly. One partner reaches for closeness, the other reaches for space, and it feels like incompatibility. But it's actually 2 nervous systems trying to survive the same fear in opposite directions. They both want connection, they're just terrified of it differently. And once you see this pattern, you'll start noticing it everywhere in your relationship. Here's where it shows up first. Here's the part no one talks about. The first pattern is what we'll call the joy tax. Most couples think good moments are simply good moments, full stop. Nothing more complicated than that. But here's what nobody explains. For someone whose nervous system learned early that closeness eventually leads to disappointment, joy comes with a hidden invoice. The better the moment feels, the more her body quietly starts bracing for what it's going to cost her. Picture this. You're both laughing in the kitchen, her back against the counter, your hand resting near hers. For one version of her, this moment just deepens the connection. But in the disconnecting version, somewhere mid-laugh, her eyes flick toward the window, her shoulders pull in half an inch, and the laugh gets shorter than it should. Something in her is quietly thinking, if I let this feel this good, I'm going to be devastated when it's gone. And when you understand that her withdrawal is fear wearing the mask of distance, you stop taking it personally and start meeting it with steadiness instead of panic. That's when the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. But this joy tax isn't the only place fear hides. Sometimes it doesn't show up as pulling back at all. Sometimes it shows up as picking a fight out of nowhere. Here's where it gets really interesting. The second pattern is the manufactured argument. Most people assume a fight starts because of the actual topic on the table, the dishes, the plans, the tone of a text message. But here's what changes everything. Sometimes the fight isn't about the dishes at all. It's her nervous system creating just enough distance to make the closeness feel survivable again. Conflict, strange as it sounds, can feel safer than intimacy, because conflict has rules she already knows. Picture the disconnecting version. You just had the best weekend in months, and Monday morning, she's suddenly sharp about something small, the mug left in the sink, her voice a little too clipped for the size of the issue. Now picture the connecting version. Same tension rising in her chest, but instead of striking, she says, I don't even know why I'm annoyed right now. Can we just sit for a second? Her brain is quietly registering. If I create a little distance, I won't have to feel how much this is starting to mean to me. And when a couple learns to recognize a manufactured argument for what it actually is, they stop losing weekends to fights that were never really about, the mug in the sink. That protective instinct doesn't only show up in arguments, though. Sometimes it's quieter than that. Sometimes it just looks like busy. This is where it gets really interesting. The third pattern is the sudden business. Most people notice their partner getting busier right after a great stretch of connection and assume it's simply circumstance, work, friends, life. But here's what nobody explains. Busy is one of the most socially acceptable forms of distance available to a person who isn't ready to name what they're actually feeling. It doesn't require an explanation. Nobody questions, "I have a lot going on." Picture it. Not more late nights at the office out of nowhere. Not more plans with friends that used to include you. Not a calendar that somehow filled up the week after the best month you've had together. But a partner who says, out loud, even shakily, "I think I've been keeping myself busy so I don't have to sit with how much I've been feeling lately." Something in him is thinking, if I stay in motion, I don't have to feel how much I need her. And when you name the busyness gently instead of resentfully, you give the relationship a chance to breathe instead of a reason to hide. Which brings us to a pattern that hides in something even smaller than a calendar. It hides in a single word. Here's the part almost nobody talks about. The fourth pattern is the flatline response. Most couples think fine is just a word, a neutral answer to a neutral question. But here's what changes everything. "I'm fine" is very often the sound of someone who has too much feeling and too little language for it in that moment. It isn't a lie exactly. It's a nervous system running out of bandwidth mid-sentence. Picture the moment on the couch again. You ask what's wrong and she says nothing. Eyes on the TV, jaw a little tight, phone face down. Now picture the same moment handled differently. You ask, and instead of forcing an answer she doesn't have yet, you say, "You don't have to explain it right now. I just want you to know I noticed." And her shoulders drop, just slightly, just enough. Her brain is quietly registering, "He actually noticed, and he didn't need me to perform an explanation for it." That's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. Now, some of these patterns show up in what a partner does, but the fifth one shows up in what a partner stops doing. This is where it gets really interesting. The fifth pattern is the quiet withdrawal of small effort. Most people think love either exists or it doesn't, and effort is just a symptom of which one is true. But here's what nobody explains. Effort often disappears, first, not because love left, but because a person got scared of how much they cared and started protecting themselves by caring less on the outside. The good morning text stops. The hand on the back in public stops. Not because the feeling stopped, but because the feeling got loud enough to frighten them. Not louder texts, not more affection scheduled into the calendar, not a forced date night to fix it. But two people willing to say plainly, "I noticed I've been pulling back, and it's not about you, it's about how much you've started to matter." Picture it. One version, the good morning text just stops appearing, no explanation, and you spend the whole week guessing why. The other version, it stops for 2 days, and then a message arrives. "I got quiet this week, and I don't fully know why yet, but I didn't want you to think it was about us." That single sentence rebuilds more safety than a month of forced grand gestures ever could. And this is where an even deeper truth starts to surface. One that explains almost everything we've covered so far. Here's the part no one talks about. The sixth pattern is the mismatch of pace. Most couples assume that if one partner wants more closeness and the other wants more space, it means they simply aren't compatible. But here's what changes everything. It's rarely about compatibility at all. It's usually two different nervous systems, shaped by two completely different histories, trying to regulate the exact same fear in opposite directions. One reaches out for reassurance. The other pulls in for safety. Both are doing the only thing their body has ever known how to do when love starts to feel like something worth losing. Emotional distance in a relationship isn't like a wall going up overnight. It's more like scar tissue, forming slowly, one small unrepaired moment at a time, until one day you look up and there's a texture between you that wasn't there before. Picture it in the connecting version. She reaches for closeness. He feels the pull to retreat, but instead of vanishing into the other room, he says, "I need 20 minutes, and then I want to sit with you. I'm not going anywhere." And she believes him, because he came back the way he said he would. Something in him is thinking, she doesn't need me to never need space. She just needs me to come back when I said I would. When both partners understand this isn't a flaw in the relationship, it's a rhythm to be learned together, They stop keeping score of who reached out last and start turning toward each other instead. And that turning toward, again and again, in the smallest moments, is where the final and most important pattern lives. This is where it gets really interesting. The seventh pattern is the repair moment, and it's the one that changes everything else on this list. Most couples believe a strong relationship is one where disconnection doesn't happen at all. But here's what nobody explains. Every relationship that has ever lasted has disconnected, probably hundreds of times. What separates the couples who make it isn't the absence of pulling away. It's what happens in the 60 seconds right after someone notices it. Your nervous system in a moment like this is like a smoke detector. It genuinely cannot tell the difference between your partner needing 5 quiet minutes and your partner actually leaving. The alarm goes off either way, unless something tells your body otherwise. Picture the disconnecting version. She pulls back, he pulls back too, out of hurt, and now two people are protecting themselves from each other in the same house. Now picture the repair. She pulls back, and instead of matching her distance, he sits a little closer, doesn't say anything for a minute, and then says quietly, "I'm still here, take your time." Her brain is quietly registering, he stayed even when I didn't have the words yet. This isn't a communication hack. This is simply what it looks like when two people have learned to love without losing themselves in the process. And when you become the kind of partner who reaches toward disconnection instead of away from it, something in your relationship changes, at the root, not just on the surface. So picture that couch again. Same room, same quiet. Her phone still face down on her knee. But this time, you already know what the silence means, and instead of spiraling, you just move a little closer and say, "Take your time, I'm not going anywhere." This isn't a checklist you're going to run through in your head next time she goes quiet. It's an invitation to become the kind of partner whose steadiness makes space safe again. When you internalize this, you stop reacting to distance and start responding to what's underneath it, and she will feel that difference before you've said a single word. The relationship you want doesn't start the moment she stops pulling away. It starts the moment you stop being afraid of the silence and become the reason it doesn't have to last. If you've ever wondered exactly what to say in that 60-second window right after someone pulls away, that's the video I made right after this one. Wherever you are in this right now, this isn't the end of anything. It's just the part where you finally understand what was happening all along.